colleagues, good afternoon. I'm happy to welcome all of you, and I'm very grateful to the hosts and sponsors for the opportunity to take part in this event. And I'd like to speak about the integration in the financial market of the Eurasian Economic Union, because there is a lot to share and we have quite global plans and objectives. This year, we marked the seventh anniversary of the Eurasian Economic Union Treaty. This is a short time, but we managed to set up a pretty streamlined architecture of normative regulation to achieve the goals that we are facing and the goals of the treaty in particular. And we are mostly interested in the financial market, in the common financial market. And this will be done based on four guiding principles set out in the treaty that we are currently implementing. The first one is harmonizing the requirements to the activities and supervision of the common financial market to regulate the market participants' activities. The second is recognizing insurance, securities, and banking licenses. The third is uninterrupted provision of financial market services without setting up a legal entity. And the fourth is ensuring efficient administrative collaboration between member country regulators. On the one hand, we can take advantage of the potential associated with the markets that the member states have, and on the other hand, we need to protect investors and support financial stability, both looking at the Eurasian Union as a whole and separate states. And we have developed and are currently implementing the strategy of the common financial market. This is a meaningful and comprehensive document that lays the foundation for the architecture of the common financial market and cooperation models, both among its participants and financial market regulators. All issues that are related to administrative collaboration among regulators have been resolved to date, because we have an information exchange principles developed, including sensitive information exchange, and we are taking a step-by-step approach to implement all of the objectives set out in the treaty. Besides, speaking about the harmonization mechanisms and processes, there is a treaty on harmonization of financial markets legislation. And as part of the treaty, we have approved and are implementing a harmonization action plan, which is a pretty large document that has to be implemented by 2025. In terms of building a common financial market in the securities market segment, which is of the highest interest to the participants of this conference, we have a roadmap for creating a common stock exchange space, and the Eurasian Commission is actively involved in implementing all the actions stipulated by the roadmap, and we are currently at a high level of readiness for the signature of an agreement to give access to brokers and dealers to stock exchange trading, thus expanding opportunities and the upside potential for investing in case of cross-border investment transactions by our financial market players. The second agreement is an agreement on the procedure for for granting access to highly liquid securities to the markets of the Eurasian Economic Union member states. I believe that um, these two agreements may be signed in 2022. This is my optimistic forecast. And of course, it is interesting both for market players and for brokers and for other stakeholders to take account of securities and for other operations. This is a global challenge, and we'll have pilot projects to test and try the mechanisms and algorithms for building such a joint financial architecture in the financial market. And together with the regulators, we'll take a look at how to make it more convenient and more pragmatic when building a cross-border collaboration mechanisms and define opportunities for further integration along these lines. In addition to the above roadmap to build a common stock exchange space, there is a whole list of action items related to further development of the depository infrastructure, and the scope, the spectrum is pretty broad, and the mechanism is step by step, and we're going from the simple to the more complicated. At first, we'll analyze national laws, barriers, and restrictions that do not allow us to have this free collaboration among members of participants of the depository systems. Then subsequently we'll try to streamline collaboration among central depositories and building the algorithms for collaboration. And besides, there is a task for building technological and business processes that would make it possible to ensure maximum and functional collaboration among depository system participants for convenience and minimization of financial costs that are incurred by cross-border transaction participants. And speaking about depository infrastructure, we'll consider opportunities and viability of creating a depository cluster at the national level. This is what was discussed during the previous panel session. Of course, it was an important, it is an important area for integration. And um, actually, the market participants and market regulators in this respect will be free to express their will, and they will define future development of the infrastructure to see whether there is a need for a supranational substructure. And as we speak, we are finalizing the agreement about mutual recognition of licenses. I'm talking about the banking and insurance service markets. And banks as significant infrastructure elements will be some sort of a flagship way and trailblazers. And the first mutual recognition of licenses will be these supranational approaches when licenses would be standardized for unhindered activities in the neighbor states' financial markets, on the one hand, to protect the interests of the participants, and on the other hand, to support and ensure stability in the common market and in the member states' markets. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much, Alexey, for covering such an important topic. Colleagues, I'd like to remind you that that you can ask your questions in the chat room or by raising your hand. Alexey, in your presentation, you have mentioned building a single or common space, and then you raised the point of setting up a single clearing cluster. Are there any timelines? Well, as I've said, we have a clear legal framework that defines the phased out approach in the process of harmonization of legislation with respect to securities requirements with respect to requirements to infrastructure organizations, and each subsequent step will logically result from the previous one. And this is related to depository infrastructure integration planned starting in 2023. But I believe that theoretically we can start addressing this and implementing as early as next year. And I've mentioned, in addition to the roadmap, we have a harmonization plan, and we have already started looking at harmonization of the terms and definitions and concepts, harmonization of the key requirements and approaches to financial market activities. And so practical implementation has to be started in 2023. But the first step that relates to harmonization of overall approaches, overall requirements, all that is being done, and we'll keep working along these lines. Thank you very much. Alexey, there is another question. Have you ever observed a trend that the list of member states is expanding at the moment? Well, this is a political question that goes beyond my terms of reference. Everything depends on the desire of the current member states and potential applicants of member states that are potentially ready to join. This is to be resolved at a higher political level. Yes, thank you. Given that ACSD covers not only CIS member states, but we have a broader group of our members. Could you please talk about the impact of integration on the economies of the member states? Well, I have to say that this is something that is that is not rewarding, given the recent developments in the global economy and in the global financial markets. It would be a challenge to make any forecasts or predictions. But if we rely on the guidelines as set up today, and if we look at the general financial market development strategy, then we can say that the economic estimates and forecasts are quite optimistic, and they actually contemplate the GDP growth by 4.5%. It is an optimistic forecast, but I hope it will be realistic. And of course, the financial market will keep developing as an integral part, an integral element of um, uh, um, financial processes. You have noted that AACSD encompasses not only our union member states, but our efforts are focused on streamlining a lot of activities in financial markets, and depository infrastructure will rely on international best practices and infrastructure, organizational and technological basis that will be developed as part of the Eurasian Economic Union will not deviate from generally accepted international practices that exist today. Thank you very much, Alexey, for your time and for taking part in our conference. I'm sure that the information that you have shared is very useful for AECSD member states who are at the same time members of the Eurasian Economic Union. Thank you.